All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down this really powerful story about a mistake, a single habit that cost someone a fortune. And I'm not talking about cash, but something way, way more valuable. This isn't about working harder. Nope. It's about a toxic habit that the most successful people actually learn to quit.
So, $50,000. What's that all about? Now, this isn't what you think. It's not a bad investment. It's not a failed business venture. According to the person who lived this, that number is the price tag for total burnout, for countless lost opportunities, and yeah, for the actual medical bills that come from pushing yourself way past the breaking point, all because of one single habit.
And what's the culprit? Well, it's our culture's obsession with being busy, right? We've all been sold this idea that if you're not constantly moving, you're not making progress. This whole explainer is going to challenge that, head on. It argues that the real enemy of success isn't being lazy, it's the non-stop, unproductive grind of hustle culture. Okay, Section 1, the $50,000 mistake. We're about to get into the personal story behind that number and expose what the author calls the great lie of perpetual motion.
So picture this, a 22-year-old startup founder who is completely bought into the hustle myth. We're talking 4 hours of sleep a night, every meal eaten at the desk, a social life pretty much thrown out the window for the sake of dedication. But the result wasn't some huge success story, it was burnout. And not just tired burnout, but severe adrenal fatigue, a total physical and mental collapse.
But here's the absolute key. The root cause wasn't just working hard. It was this sneaky little habit the author calls the pursuit of novelty. You know what this is. It's that constant, nagging need to find the next new thing, the next podcast, the next productivity hack, the next life-changing course. And this right here is the habit that the truly successful people, they just quietly leave it behind.
Which brings us to Section 2, an addiction to novelty. See, this habit isn't just a distraction. It's framed as a full-blown addiction that tricks you into feeling like you're working, when what you're really doing is just consuming the performance of work.
And this just illustrates the whole cycle perfectly. Just look at this schedule. It starts at 5 a.m. and is a fire hose of inputs, podcasts, news, a brand new journaling routine. I mean, by the time work is supposed to start at 8 a.m., you're already wiped out from preparing to be productive instead of, actually being productive. Sound familiar at all? And there it is. That's the line that just hits you right in the gut. It wasn't about creating anything. It was about consuming things. Every new article, every webinar, it all felt like you were making progress, but it was just an illusion. It was a perfectly respectable way to procrastinate on the real, difficult work of actually building something.
So, if that's the problem, what's to fix? Well, that takes us to Section 3, the Billionaires' Secret. And it's a completely counterintuitive idea, doing less to achieve more.
I love this slide because it just lays it all out there. The myth we're all sold is that successful people are constantly learning, constantly optimizing. But the reality, when you look at billionaires or Olympic athletes, is the complete opposite. They find what works, they master it, and then they ruthlessly and intentionally ignore all the distracting noise of the next new thing.
And that brings us to the core principle of this whole thing. It's this fundamental shift in your mindset, moving away from constantly discovering new stuff to deeply mastering what you already know. That is the secret, hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? Section 4 gives us the answer. 3 powerful anti-habits. Think of this as your practical toolkit for breaking that cycle and shifting from consuming to actually executing.
Here they are, the information fast, the deep work anchor, and the boredom mandate. And notice, these aren't about adding more to your to-do list. They are all about strategic subtraction. Let's break each one down.
First up, the information fast. For 30 days, you just cut it all off. No new podcasts, no new courses, no you have to read this articles. You commit to acting only on the knowledge you already have in your head. Now, the author says that first week is pure agony. You feel like you're falling behind. But then, something incredible starts to happen.
And this chart just shows you the insane result of that shift. Without that constant flood of new ideas, you're forced to actually do the work. And the result? What had been 6 long months of getting ready to launch was compressed into 1 single month of actually shipping the product. That's a 6x increase in speed. Incredible.
Next up is the deep work anchor. So instead of a to-do list with a dozen little things on it, you choose one. Just one. A single high-impact task that if you get it done makes the day a win.
And then you protect that time like your career depends on it. Because, well, it does.
Now check out these results, because they seem completely backwards at first. The workload felt 90% lighter, which honestly might make you feel a little guilty. But the actual value being delivered, the work that really mattered, shot up by 300%. It just proves that one completed, meaningful task is worth so much more than 10 half-done ones.
And now for what might be the hardest one of all, the boredom mandate. 60 minutes a day with 0 inputs. No phone, no music, no nothing. Just you, your thoughts, and maybe a wall. The author describes the first few times doing this as pure torture, as your brain just screams for its usual hit of stimulation.
But right after that struggle is where the breakthrough happens. Because in that forced silence, all the shallow thoughts start to fade away. And the truly important ideas, the innovative solutions, the deep connections, they finally have the space they need to come to the surface. This is where real creativity is born.
So let's bring this all home in our final section, mastery over discovery. The core message really is this simple: stop adding and start subtracting.
And just look at the payoff from quitting this one habit. Within 6 months, the author went from total burnout to launching a profitable product, tripling their income, and, maybe most importantly, rebuilding their health and relationships. And this wasn't by learning more, but by finally applying what they already knew. Which brings us to a really challenging test for all of us. And I want you to ask yourself this honestly. If you were banned from all new information for the next 90 days, could you still make meaningful progress? If the answer is no, or if you hesitate, you probably don't have a knowledge problem. You have an execution problem.
And this doesn't just leave you with the theory. Here are 3 super simple, powerful steps you can take literally tomorrow. Unsubscribe from just one newsletter. Choose your one anchor task for the day. And schedule that uncomfortable but absolutely critical 60 minutes of boredom. Start subtracting.
And we'll end on this final thought, which is just a total gut punch. The real question isn't, what should I learn next? It's, what am I avoiding by constantly learning? Maybe, just maybe, our endless search for more information isn't about growth at all. Maybe it's the most sophisticated form of avoidance we've ever come up with. Definitely something to think about.